So, as little as I might want to, and I honestly really don't want to, you know, there is a story that I've covered on this podcast previously that I do have to come back and revisit. And unfortunately, it is more red pill horse shit. And it actually does pertain specifically to this whole situation with, Fresh and Filt Walter, old man name, and Daisy Chen. And so the big development in that story, which I was kind of saddened to hear, is that Daisy Chen, who you know with whom Walter had fathered a child, uh, decided that she wasn't going to keep the child after all. So just to kind of recap the story, uh, you know, Fresh and Fit Walter, old man name, who apparently likes to bust unprotected in the girls that he sleeps with, fathered a child, as really should be expected if you're the kind of person that likes to do that kind of thing with many different women outside of marriage or a relationship or anything like that. He was found himself in the unenviable position of having a child with a woman that he was not married to, and basically he had kind of, actually, we thought at the time that he had ruined that whole relationship. And so there were all kinds of people that came out and said, it's like, oh, well, why wasn't she on protection? Why wasn't she on the pill? Oh, she's trying to baby trap him. You know what? All possible. But at the same time, you know, a, a baby trap, as the concept generally is, where a woman tries to, have a child with a guy in order to keep him or cash in on some wealth that he may or may not have. It requires a willing participant who the entire time knows that there is a very inexpensive tool at his disposal that he can use to avoid that entire situation and then chooses not to use it. So, personally, for my tastes, I did not consider that to be a valid argument whatsoever. Uh, you know, at the time, basically, what the scenario was presenting us to as, maybe she is or maybe she isn't. But he's definitely provided more than enough material to indicate to us that we have some evidence that she thought that she was in a real relationship with him and that she had been given every reason in the world to think that this was a stable enough relationship to have a child in. Turns out that she was into some pretty skeevy stuff herself. And by the time that she had come out and said that she wasn't going to get an abortion, that she was going to keep the baby, and that she was going to expect this guy to show up and fulfill his responsibilities as a father, which I still stand by I still stand by the notion, by the theory, the idea that probably having done that probably would have made Walter, old man name, a better person in the long run. But now that definitely will not happen because this Daisy Chen had already had the abortion by the time that she was doing all of that. So I guess it kind of takes two dirtbags to be dirtbags together. That wasn't really as clever as I thought it was going to sound when I thought it up just now. Uh, I'm a little embarrassed now because I just said something that is smart but sounds dumb. And so, apparently, from what I've gathered, what it seems like the way that she actually got caught, like who knows how long she was actually going to try to keep this charade up. And apparently, the way that she got caught was that she was out drinking somewhere in, I don't know if they said if it was in Miami, but she was basically, somebody caught her out drinking, and they said to her, "It's like, hey, what are you doing? What are you drinking? Why are you drinking? What about little Abba Chen? I mean, what about like fetal alcohol syndrome?" And that was pretty much when she had to let it spill, right? Like she kind of made up some weird sounding excuse on the fly, and then later on had to come out to admit that it's like, oh well, I just don't want to be a single mother. It wouldn't be good for my child. So she had done the thing. She had done the thing. I've actually already broken the YouTube rule, and I've already used the word, but she had already gone to the Shishmortion clinic, and gotten herself a shishmortion. Oh, and by the way, recapping back to the last episode, no, that wasn't 40-year-old virgin. That was knocked up. I don't know what the hell I was cracking on that day. But anyway, regardless, by that point, she had already had the shishmortion. And so then she had to admit to the whole world that she had already been to the shishmortion clinic and had the shishmortion. It actually is no laughing matter, but Jonah Hill's a funny dude. But really, yeah, it's not a laughing matter. It's actually it's actually a really sad story. Like now everything about it is actually kind of sad. Like even the ability of, this just blatant obnoxious fuckboy having the opportunity to actually kind of grow up, man up, be an actual grown man for once in his life. Now that whole thing comes off of the table. There's a life that was created that now, will not be able to come into the world. R.I.P. Abba Chen. But I think even more sadder than all of that, well, that's a hell of a war. But I think even sadder than all of that is just like, you know, some of the gloating from like the little sycophants that actually kind of follow this guy and admire this guy and what he's about. And some of the gloating coming out of them, it's like, oh, looks like Walter, old man name, got away with it. He gets to keep living keeps to keep living the fuckboy life, and there's no consequences for him. Ha 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 ha. And you can absolutely guarantee that for all of these guys, there's nothing like that actually going on in their lives. They could follow as much advice from these guys, as they want. That will never, that will never come to fruition for them. But they still want to chortle and laugh because this other dude is out there just like, you living this hedonistic lifestyle and using all of these people and leaving all of this wreckage in his wake. And I think that whether or not you think that Daisy Chen is a good person or not, and I think at this juncture, I kind of feel like, probably not, which is kind of disappointing and comforting at the same time. I mean, disappointing that, she's not actually a good person, but kind of comforting that we don't have to kind of deal with this disturbing idea that somebody who is as good a person as she was presenting herself to be, could fall in love with with a shitbag like that. Fucking Walter Oldman name. But for all of her faults, it's kind of impossible to ignore, the reality that there has definitely got to be some hurting there on her part. And we do know of at least one life, one very young life that was completely destroyed by this entire debacle. So it's literally no good. Literally no good has come out of it. Okay, sure, Walter Old Man name, he got to bust unprotected, and I'm sure that felt good, when he did it. But now he's got pretty much at least, one more ghost on his conscience now. But cool, whatever. I guess busting makes him feel good.